Welcome to 5 Minutes of X, where the stories are epic, the powers are unstoppable, and sometimes 5 minutes just isn't enough. Welcome back to a double-sized mutant mayhem episode of 5 Minutes of X. Today we're diving into two comics that tell one incredible story. The X-Men number 12 and the X-Men number 13, originally published on May 4th and July 1st, of both in 1965. Both were written by Stan Lee with art by Jack Kirby. Let's kick this off with today's spotlight. It's a little bit of a shorter one because we're going to introduce this character in this issue, so I don't want to get too far into spoilery details. But we're going to spotlight Cain Marko, the unstoppable force known as the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut makes his first appearance in this two-parter. He's not a mutant. His powers come from the Crimson Gem of Sidorak. Despite not being a mutant, he's one of the deadliest threats the X-Men have ever faced, fueled by mystical power, family trauma, and pure rage. Juggernaut isn't just a powerhouse, he's personal. This villain was in the Fox X-Men films as well as two different Deadpool films. I'm not going to go much further here since we're going to learn about his origins in the special double-sized issue of 5 Minutes of X. Starting with the X-Men issue 12, a scream from Cerebro, a device the X-Men whose names aren't Scott didn't even know existed, kicks off the action. Professor X shouts, "No time to explain!" and sends the team off to prep Home Alone level defenses around the X mansion. Ice walls, electronic moats, grenade pylons, dizzy gas traps, the works. Once they've rigged the mansion to be a mutant fortress, Charles starts telling the story in two-page vignettes. This mysterious attacker, it's his stepbrother, Cain Marko. It turns out that Charles's father died in a nuclear accident. His mom remarried the shady lab partner, Mr. Marko, a power-hungry opportunist who treats young Charles and his mother like burdens. Cain, Marko's son, enters the picture like a cartoon bully, expelled from school and ready to punch Charles in the face on sight. Back in the present, Cain is breaking through Bobby's ice barrier, shaking the mansion, and Charles keeps talking. We return to Charles' childhood. His mother is now also passed, and Mr. Marko is raising both Charles and Cain. Charles overhears Cain demanding money from his father and implying that Mr. Marko had something to do with Charles's father's death. We get this moment where the reality becomes more clear. Mr. Marko may not be a good dad or even a good man, but he's not a full-on villain. He refuses Cain's demand for money. An argument erupts. Cain knocks over some chemicals and the lab explodes. Mr. Marko saves both boys from the fire, but is fatally injured in the process. With his dying breath, he tells Charles two things. One, he knows about Charles's mutant gift. Charles just kind of had a vague feeling of it up until now. And two, that while he didn't cause Charles's father's death, he could have done more to save him. We return to the present again, where Cain breaks through the electrified trench, the second barrier. We still haven't seen him fully, just his shadow, and then Charles continues his story. Now in his teens, Charles knows he has the mutant gift. He excels in school, not just because he's smart, but because he's using his powers to read the thoughts of classmates and teachers. He's racking up trophies, outthinking everyone, and that only drives Cain more and more over the edge. At one point, Cain drives a car off a cliff with Charles in the passenger seat. Cain jumps out, Charles does not, and no, this isn't how he lost the use of his legs. That was Lucifer, remember? I thought I caught Stan Lee in a nitpick there for a moment, but then I remembered that happens later. Charles says his mental power helped him survive the fall, though he was pretty heavily injured. Cain breaks through the grenade and gas trap, and we still haven't seen his full body. Just flashes of red and a gloved hand, heavy footsteps, things like that. We flash back one last time in this issue. Charles and Cain are serving together in the Korean War. Cain deserts under fire and runs into a cave to hide. Charles chases him, and they discover the ancient temple of Sidorak. A glowing red gem sits on the altar. Charles warns him not to touch it, but Cain grabs it anyway, and he's instantly cursed and transformed into the Juggernaut. The temple collapses around them. Charles barely escapes, but Juggernaut is buried under the what the comic describes as trillions of tons of rock. And Charles knows nothing can stop him. One day, he'll dig himself out, and guess what? Today is that day. Juggernaut has broken through every trap. The X-Men regroup behind a steel wall. The wall begins to dent inward. Cyclops lets loose with a full optic blast. Juggernaut walks right through it unfazed, and finally, in the final panel of this issue, we see him in full, helmeted, massive, unstoppable. Issue 13 starts. We pick up exactly where we left off. The Juggernaut is breaking into the X-Mansion. The X-Men are down and things are looking bleak. Professor X hits Kane with a psychic blast. It stuns him just long enough for Cyclops to blast open the floor and for Marvel Girl to telekinetically drop Juggernaut into the hole. A temporary win, but he's already climbing back up. Knowing time is short, Professor X pulls Beast and Iceman and Jean to work on finishing the new invention that he's come up with, the Mento helmet. It's absolutely the precursor to the Cerebro helmet we'll see down in the basement later, and then the one practically fused to his head during the House of X and Powers of X. It boosts his powers massively, and he has to release excess psychic energy into the atmosphere. Meanwhile, Cyclops and Angel are ordered to buy time. We get some solid teamwork, flanking moves, aerial dives, optic blasts, but nothing that stops Juggernaut. Still, they do manage to delay him long enough for the Mento helmet to go online. But that's when things get weird across New York. People near radios and those who are more psychically sensitive start receiving strange mental broadcasts. One of them is Johnny Storm, the Human Torch of the Fantastic Four fame. He's chilling in his Manhattan pad. He gets the message from Professor X, who warns him that a villain may be trying to stop Reed and Sue's wedding, which, by the way, is what we're covering in the next episode. Back at the mansion, Beast and Iceman rush in to help Cyclops and Angel. They fight the Juggernaut into the danger room, where Beast activates all the traps. It only slows Juggernaut down, but time is, they just need to buy more time. Johnny Storm arrives and teams up with a concussed Angel to finally get Juggernaut's helmet off. With nothing shielding Kane's mind, Professor X hits him with another couple of brain blasts, and that takes him down for good. Juggernaut is arrested off-panel. Johnny Storm is mind-wiped and politely sent on his way. Standard Xavier protocol. I don't get it. We close with Jean nursing the 4 injured boys back to health. God. The professor cracks a joke about giving them all brooms to clean up the mansion once they recover. Right off the bat, these 2 issues rock. Teased at the end of issue 11, Juggernaut finally arrives, and the payoff is so worth it. It's a story about family, resentment, and origin stories, not just for Juggernaut, but for Professor X, too. Okay, there's one big nitpick. If Cerebro detects mutants and Juggernaut is not a mutant, why is it going off? Plot hole? I don't know. It's up to us to decide. But major props to the storytelling structure here. The tension builds with each flashback in the first issue. Each time Charles finishes a story beat, Kane crushes another defense, and we don't see Juggernaut until the end. That's like Jaws level suspense. It's brilliant. And hey, Charles may be telling the story, but let's not forget he's probably not a perfect angel here. Nobody really is. Charles is clearly an unreliable narrator, but I'm seeing these actions with his future ones in mind. X-fans know how morally gray Charles is. It makes the whole thing feel richer, and that final panel reveal of Juggernaut in the first issue, it's just iconic. The second Juggernaut issue is all action all the time, which is a fun answer to the plot-heavy, flashback-filled first part, but I still would have liked a little bit more story, some excuse for Professor X to just talk to Juggernaut. Maybe there's just so much personal history between them, and we never really get to hear it come out directly. That said, Professor X charging up his mental powers like some kind of anime protagonist is pretty fun. It's cheesy, but fun. And making Juggernaut's helmet the key to victory, that's a great mechanic, even if it's going to feel a little recycled when we see it again later with Magneto. The wrap-up is where things get a little shaky for me. Why mind-wipe Johnny Storm? At this point, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four have crossed paths like 4 times. Just be friends already. And yeah, Jean's nursing the guys back to health is just super lame. I get it. It's the era, but the sexism is starting to wear thin. It's getting harder and harder to hand wave it away. When I read these issues the first couple times, I kind of just ignored it because I didn't fixate on it. But here, when I'm trying to write a review and talk about it, I can't get past it. Like, it just continues to be a problem. problem. Anyway, that said, I love that closing joke. It feels slightly out of character for the professor, and that's what makes it land. He's still the leader, he's still in charge, but there's a warmth there, a signal that the team is growing into something more than just students and teacher. The teenage awkwardness is fading, and the family dynamic is starting to settle in. These two issues are just plain awesome. I've read them both multiple times. I don't own either, but they are at the very top of my want list. Well, you survived another session in the Danger Room. For more character info, reading lists, and what other nerdy projects I'm tangled up in, head on over to Jordy.com. New episodes drop Wednesdays at noon and Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern. Remember, being top of the class doesn't help when your stepbrother's powered by an ancient god and hates your face.